Hi everybody, I am Husky Light. Thank you for stopping by. I have got the most amazing guy here with me at the moment, who I've been really looking forward to interviewing for you. His name is Billy Hubert Clark Junior, and he went through an awakening back in, it was 3 days before Thanksgiving, so it was about the 23rd of November 2015, and he has the most amazing awakening story, and things have just got better and better for him as he's gone through this process. He's such a positive guy. So hi Bill.
Hello Daniela, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm really good. I'm really looking forward to this one. So yeah, let's start off with your awakening. Tell me all about it. Tell us what happened.
So you don't want the short version?
Oh no, I want you to. Let's go for it. You just
okay.
Talk.
Well, it starts out at I guess when I was about 4 years old. We were not a church family. Didn't go to church. My dad had moved us from the mountains to Atlanta, Georgia, so he could make a living, because up here in the mountains, it's pretty much poverty back in the late 50s and early 60s. So we'd moved into a house in a little suburb, and I was the most curious child on earth. So I had asked my mother, who made everything? Who made me? Who made her? Who made the world? Because I just needed to know. Everything was here, but I didn't see anybody making anything. I thought, how did it all just pop up? Now, that's pretty curious for a 4-year-old.
Very.
So try to remember back to being 3 or 4 years old and picture it in your mind today, even as a child. You haven't seen everything. So when you go out in the yard, you're just becoming aware. You may have seen a tree, you've seen grass, but the grass was just green. You didn't really look at the blade, and see the little lines and smell it. It was just green carpet, because you might have been really looking at a bug. The bug was so interesting. The whole world to a 4-year-old is just amazingly new. It's like stepping into a new planet. I mean, that's actually what it is. You've come out of a spaceship, which was your mother, and now you're walking out on this new planet. So it was fall, kind of cool outside, and I had a little black, it's kind of like the old Russian army hats where you can fold the ears up and they got fuzz in them. I remember that very well. And I had real blonde hair. I was a blonde kid. So I probably, 2.5, 3 feet tall. I went outside and I lied down on the ground and I looked over at a pine tree. And for the first time, I didn't just see a big gray cylinder. I actually saw the rough texture on it, but I had no idea what it was, and nobody had ever told me. So I thought, well, Mama said that God made that, so I'll just ask him what it is. So I said, and I'm doing this in my mind. I wasn't verbally doing it. So I was lying back and I could see the sun kind of filtering through the pine. And I noticed the needles too, but I was like, well, I'll ask him about those next. So I just looked at that gray stuff on the tree and I was like, well, God, what is that stuff on that tree? And the most amazing, loving, authoritative voice just said, bark. Man, I freaked out. Bark, So I tore into the house, running. My hat fell off. I knocked the kitchen door open. Mama, Mama, Mama. God told me what was on the tree. And she says, what, honey? And I said, God told me that stuff on the tree was bark. Was he right? And she said, well, yes, honey, he ought to know. He's the one that made it. And I told her, I think back to how sweet my little mama was, but you know, she was just told God made things. And I have a totally new concept of God, but that, from that point on, it was like I never doubted there was a creative force out there.
Yeah.
That it wasn't evolution. I never had to worry about believing in Darwinianism or anything like that, because this thing spoke to me. And as I grew up, I thought, well, I guess I kind of had it over a barrel, because if a 4-year-old innocent child asked the Creator a question and it doesn't answer, well, you can forget him ever paying any attention to you in the future. So, you know, I got the answer. So I never really doubted the existence of a creator or creative force in the universe. So as time went on, even though we didn't go to church and we didn't pray or anything, when it would come a storm, my dad said I would grab both of their hands and take them in the bedroom and say, all right, let's pray. So I guess I was destined for this religious education that I ended up getting. So life goes on, and I'm pretty much a wild teenager, and just always seeking adventure, never happy in school because it was boring as hell. I wanted to do things, see things, experience things. So now we move up to 2014. So I got married in the 80s, had 2 kids, and then they were grown. They'd been through college and all that kind of stuff, and I had a granddaughter by my daughter. And life was pretty good, except for I had become very ill. I was always a business person. I never could work for somebody else. In 40 years, I might have had jobs in a total of lasting maybe 4 years out of that whole time where I was under a boss. I just couldn't take it. It was like slavery. I always told myself, you'll never have a better boss than myself. I'll treat me good, and it's my money, so I'll always do the best job for me. And that's how it turned out. So I would start a business, and it would be fun, and then when it would get boring, I would close it and start a new one. And I've had everything from the first I opened the first paintball business in North Carolina in the early 90s, the early 80s. I started my own plumbing company, my own house building company, and it all translated into when my son was about 6. I always loved working on guns. I've never been a violent person. I've always been a spiritual-minded, love-oriented person, but I loved being able to bust an egg or a jar, 100 yards away, and me standing here, it's kind of like magic. So my son was interested at 6, and as time progressed, I said, well, I'm just going to open a gun store. So I got into the business of gun stores, and I taught myself how to be a gunsmith. And my son was, oh my God, he was so wrapped into that. That was his life. He knew every gun that was ever created in history, and he had a mind that was genius. Anybody could show him a gun, and he would tell you who invented it, where it was made, what year it was made, and what country, and if it was military gun first, that kind of thing. He just like an encyclopedia. So anyway, we were competition shooters, and he could always outshoot my ass real well. I attribute it to he's younger, better reflexes, but he always tore me up. So anyway, I got ill. I was crippled from my plumbing job, crawling around on my knees, 6 knee surgeries, and I was just about less than 6 months from being in a wheelchair full time. I had been taking pain medicine for almost 20 years, almost every day, because I couldn't work. My knees were so bad I had to take it, and they were high-powered painkillers, but I was like immune mentally. I didn't get a high, go off and get all stoned. It just simply cut the pain enough for me to continue making a living. Then my ankle swelled up while I was at work, just out of the blue. I was in my early 40s. So my wife said, let's go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and he said, you need heart surgery. And I was like, well, okay, I'll do that in a couple of years. I'm real busy right now. And he said, no, you need it today. I said, nah, you're joking me. I said, I feel great. He said, this is not one of those kind of things you feel. He said, this is going to hit you all of a sudden. My valve had stopped functioning. It was all the blood was falling back into my heart. And so my ankles were blowing up like balloons. So then I had to go have my chest cracked open. I wasn't lucky and get a little stent or something. I mean, they cracked me open and went in there about a 5 or 6 hour surgery. And God, was that awful. I don't even like that. It was awful. So that's how my healthy life of a businessman progressed into this tormentuous, horrible condition. And so I had to close my business. I couldn't work. I came home after working myself to death all those years. I could not adapt to sitting in a chair. I needed to be doing something, yet I couldn't get up. So I just started eating one of the pills they gave me because I was nervous now, crazy nervous. So they gave me these nerve pills, and they caused me to crave sweets. Yeah. And the only thing I would eat was graham crackers with lots of sugar in a bowl with milk and whipped cream on top of it. Oh. Yeah, I mean, that was my meal. And my son and my wife said, you better quit. You're going to get fat. In my mind, I was like, no, I won't. I just have to get my calories. Well, boy, I was getting some calories. That was so anyway, from that, me and my son, we still did what we could. We played and all. And one night in June of 2014, he was going with his girlfriend down to a house I have in another little town and practice because we had some acreage and he could get out and shoot, and it's way out in the country, didn't bother anybody. Well, he didn't come home, and so I didn't worry about him. I mean, he was grown. I didn't worry. I thought him and his girlfriend were just having a good time. Well, the next night, he didn't come home, and I still wasn't worried, And 3 o'clock in the morning, a police car pulls up in my driveway. Bam! I already knew, I didn't have to guess. I went out on the porch. They were getting out of the police car, and I said, where's my boy? And they didn't answer me. The chaplain, or whatever you call it, comes slowly walking up my walkway, and when he got to the bottom step, I said, he's dead, isn't he? And he just shook his head. Well, my life changed instantaneously. That's nothing any human being can imagine until you've gone through it. I didn't break down and cry. I was too stunned. I was absolutely just numb and stunned. I wanted to scream, but I was like, I can't, So the cop was trying to talk to me, and this chaplain was talking to me, and he's like, do you want me to pray? And I said, no, I do not want you to pray. And now I've been a Bible teacher and Bible scholar for almost 34 years at this point. Yeah. Never churchy, because the church is backwards to what the Bible says. It's judgmental, hypocritical. and they do everything that the Bible says not to do every friggin' week. So I just said, okay, the core of the Bible is about love. That's what Jesus taught, so that was what I focused on. Taught my kids, you never hurt another human being in word or deed, and you'll do fine in life. So that was the only rule I had. And you don't talk back to daddy. That was the other one. But anyway, so this guy's wanting to pray for me, and I thought I could school you on some praying here, buddy. So I said, no, I think I will discuss this with God a little later because he really doesn't want to hear from me right now. And I said, I think it's best for you just to leave. So they left. And so all of that, 2 years go by, or almost 2 years. And I got over the trauma of it. In, a few months, you kind of drift back into normal life. But yet there was this black cloud that followed me everywhere I went. I would see a man and his son doing something, and a tear would roll up in my eyes. I'd see always fathers and sons everywhere, and these big tears. I'd have to turn around and go get in the car and leave. So that was always present. So I just got to where I stayed home most of the time, didn't go out and watch that. But I got back to what you might call normal. And things aside from his death, like I said, normal, that was kind of in the background now. But I started noticing that something was wrong with life. There was something very wrong with the system that I had been raised in and that I was trying to work to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
I followed the rules of school, you go out, you work hard, you can have success. So one day standing in my kitchen, that's where I was when you and I talked the other day, you could kind of see that window behind me. I was standing at that window, got a very beautiful view of the mountains and stuff out in front of me. And I looked at all that, and we got a nice car. It's not a fancy car. It's a nice car, meaning that it's a newer model and it works well. It's not a BM. I think it's a Toyota RAV4, and then I had a little truck. So I said, okay, I've got the cars, and I've got a really nice house, an infamous house that came from a domestic terrorist, Eric Robert Rudolph, who was the Olympic Park bomber, and he bombed an abortion clinic in Alabama, and then he disappeared for 5 years. Well, I bought his house, so it's a very famous house around here. People come around just to see it. So I thought, okay, I got a famous house, I got cars, I got every kind of tool a person can buy. I had the toys that I wanted to play with, but I never played with any of them. I didn't work with the tools, and all I did was just sit in a chair in my house. And I was like 56 years old, and I thought, wow, this is it, huh? So you do everything they call to get you successful in life, and you acquire success. You have the American dream. I don't know if y'all have a British dream or not, but we have an American dream over here. It's a house, a car, 2.5 kids, dog, and all that mess.
Yeah. Same
all right, I had all that.
As well.
Yeah, so I looked out and I thought, my God, what a failure. Success is the biggest failure ever in the history of the United States. The American dream is lacking. Nobody told me that with all this material wealth that you would not have any happiness, you would not have any fulfillment, and life would just be, okay, now you're getting old and you've got stuff, so now you just wait to die. And that's what was in my head. I said, so this is it. I'm at this age, and I'm going to wait to die. So at that point, I thought, no, I'm not. I will not wait to die. I will shoot my freaking self tonight, and I will go talk to God about what is wrong with this world the way I see it. And so, standing in my kitchen, I started getting a little irate inside, and I was not afraid of God. And I think I told you before that if there was a burning hell, which I really never accepted that, how could a loving God burn you up? You know, that's kind of oxymoron. So anyway, but I thought, well, on the chance that there is a burning hell, it would at least be a change of scenery from this earthly hell I'm living in now.
Yep.
So I didn't give a crap. But I wanted to get my point of view across to the boss upstairs, you know, that I thought was there and that I'd been taught was there. So I looked up and I said, now listen here, something is wrong. Either you're a liar according to this book, or you're not even there. But I'm fixing to end it here, and I'm coming up to have a face-to-face with you and talk this thing over. And while we're at it, you might want to bring Adam into the picture. You know, Adam, Mr. Eve.
Yep.
You might want to bring him into the picture, because it appears from your book that he's the idiot that caused all this stuff by that ignorant decision he made. So I got plenty to say to him too. So you call him in, and when I get there, the three of us are going to have a chat. About that time, love took over again. I quit thinking about just me, because all you can believe, I was fully into my ego and me at that point. There wasn't anybody else in the world but me, and I was pissed. So I saw my wife's face. I saw my daughter's face. I saw my granddaughter's face, and I was like, oh, my Lord. I can't put them through another horrible, tragic death. I mean, come home and find me with my brains blown out, right? I should have thought and took a handful of pain pills, and that'd been a lot easier, but the love hit, and so I decided, and not thinking to myself is what, that love is what brought my healing, I'm sure. Because I said, all right, I'm going to stay here for their sake. They love me so much, and I love them. I won't put them through that. I'll learn how to live in this miserable state of being, and I'm pretty resilient, so I'll figure out a way to get through it the best I can. But when I get there, you can count on a really good conversation. And then I thought, and I pointed my finger, and I said, in the meantime, you need to show up. Well, that was the end of my talk with that. Thank God, whatever you want to call it. Him, whatever. And so later that night, I'd kind of let my anger go, and I got tired. And so I went to lay down in the bed, and I remember taking a deep breath and laying my head down, and whoosh, I was gone. I was not in my bed. All around me was the most beautiful hues of blue. It was light blues, dark blues, just blues that went on forever and ever. I noticed immediately that I didn't see any mansions. I didn't see any gold streets. You know, it's supposed to be streets paved with gold and all this. None of that. I didn't see Jesus. I didn't see angels. I didn't see any beings at all. I was encased in something blue. I didn't know if it went on for an eternity or if it went on for 10 feet, because I couldn't touch anything. Didn't want to. All I knew was I had never felt so freaking amazing in my life. My body was, or whatever, my spirit was filled with an unbelievable amount of love. not coming from me, but being poured into me. Immediately, something that I had lived in all my life was gone, and I didn't even realize I was living in it, and that's fear. Mm-hmm. The biggest weapon ever used against humanity to control and manipulate them is fear. They use fear to make you go to the doctor. Then the doctor uses fear to get you to take the pills. They use fear on TV to get you to go buy this. You know, it's fear everywhere, and you don't realize it because we grow up in a society that literally controls us with fear. Well, man, that was gone. And once you lose that, you'll never be the same. If you can shed fear in your life, you will be the happiest being on earth. Well, you'll be the happiest being next to me because I am the happiest. So anyway, I realized I had no fear. And this intelligence let me know immediately there was no such thing as hell. That was a creation of men to put fear in people to get them to do what they wanted them to do, like put money in an offering plate or pay for indulgences, get somebody out of purgatory, and the list goes on. So they used fear in religion to do that. So the fear was gone, and I knew immediately that I was 100% whole. You couldn't tell it by looking, but inside my being, I knew there was not one cell that was not fixed. I knew that my bones were fixed. My heart was fixed. I had a dead thyroid. It was fixed. My blood pressure would be normal, and I wouldn't have to take those pain pills ever again. Some people may think I was a drug addict. Well, I was a physically dependent on these painkillers, but I never allowed my mind to be. I always said my body has to have them, but my mind belongs to me. So when the pain left, I knew that was over. I wouldn't have to have those anymore. So I woke up, or didn't wake up. I was thrust back or just aware all of a sudden I was in my bed. I don't know if I was there for hours. I didn't look at the clock. I don't know if I was there for seconds. I really have no reference of how long. All I know is I was there and I was back and I was well and I was different and I'm still different and I'll always be different. And so from that, I questioned if I'd lost my mind. I thought maybe all that stress and stuff I'd cracked, but I didn't care because I was living in absolute ecstasy, total bliss. I've never felt anything like it. The next day, it was still there. I remember thinking, is this going to go away in a little while? Am I going to lose this in a little while? Because if I do, I don't think I like it very much. I want this to stay. So 3 days go by. I'm still like that. Not saying much to my wife. I didn't tell her I was about to kill myself. So the big day comes. It's Thanksgiving. My daughter, my granddaughter, Gus, her man, and my wife were at the table. And I was standing there, and I said, now look, something happened to me, and I don't really know what it was. But I started to take my own life. Oh, man, that's all. Because on the surface, I stayed, pretty positive as I could, even when I was in misery. So they never thought daddy, husband, grandpa would even say something like that. So that shocked them real big. They was like, oh, my God. They weren't aware of the depression that I was in. So I said, but don't freak out. I didn't do it. I said, I ain't going to now. I said, but something happened to me. I don't know what it was. I know I probably sound crazy. I said, I was in a blue place. I know that John, my son, is there. He's fine. I said, I know that there were billions of souls there, and they were part of me, and I was part of all of those souls. And as all of us were still individuals, we were all part of the Creator. So it was like I was part of them, they were part of me, and we were part of it. Him, she, whatever label people want to apply, the creative force of the universe. I know it is love. I was a part of love. We were all parts of love. And I started trying to explain that to them. And, you know, it didn't sound right from somebody that's been preaching the Bible for 30 years. But the force had installed a message in my mouth that I didn't know was there. And that was, say to them, don't pay attention to his words. Just watch the fruit. I didn't know what that meant. You know, I said, I told them that. That's what this told me to tell you. Don't, huh?
I was just about to say, I actually, because I spoke to the other day before we set up this interview, and I had one of my synchronicity things that I do. You had said that line to me, and then later on in the evening, I was watching a YouTube video, and they said almost the same thing, something to do with looking at the results of the fruit or something. Is it a line? Is there a line in the Bible that relates to?
You will know them by their fruits. That's the line in the Bible.
That was
You'll
the
know
line.
them by their fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still didn't know. It's like you can tell a good person because their actions, their deeds, the fruit of their life will be positive and good. A bad person, same thing, just the opposite. So that's what it was. But the fruit wasn't going to be my actions at this point, because I acted like a lunatic. I was too happy. I looked crazy to everybody. And I didn't know what was going on. So I guess I was pretty crazy. But I didn't care. So I told them then, I said, look, if you feel like that you need to have me locked up in a mental ward or a mental institution, I'm fine with that. I said, I don't care if that makes y'all feel good. Just call the men in the white coats and take me away. I said, because I don't care if I was living in a hole in the ground. In the state of bliss I'm in, I would be just as happy in a mental institution, a prison, or a ditch, because this is internal change. This is not an extra. I'm not getting my happiness from outside things. This is coming from inside out.
Yeah.
But I did tell them one thing. If you're going to have me locked up, there's only one requirement. You tell them not to treat me. If I'm crazy and I'm this blissed out and this happy, you just leave my butt crazy, because this is how I want to spend the rest of my life. So that was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. And so over a year's time, well, for 3 days after that, I walked back and forth from my heater, my wood heater, to my kitchen, and I had literally worn a trail on the hardwood floor where I was wearing the finish off. I didn't sleep. I paced, and I was connected to the intelligent force of the universe, and it was pouring quantum mechanics, psychology, metaphysics, sacred geometry, neuroscience, and the list goes on. It was a mandate, was what they told me, that this is the mandate you're putting in your head, and then you will go and verify it to yourself. And so that's what the whole last year has been, learning how to live with these super, super highs. I've never gone back into a negative state. I get flat sometimes,
Yeah.
which is pretty happy, but and neutral I'd call it.
Yeah.
And
Middle
from what
step.
I've learned, that's an energy transfer from outside in the universe, the sun or the love force. Your DNA is changing. Your whole being is being transformed into a new dimension.
Yeah.
Instead of this plain 3D hateful existence that we live in, this light, dark, sweet, sour, hot, cold, you ascend to a level of consciousness that none of that has an effect on. But you have to go back in and out and in and out and in and out until you learn ways within yourself to deal with it. And I didn't know what enlightenment was. I didn't know what awakening was. Had to get taught that. You probably did too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I had to.
I mean,
I had all the same sort of downloads as you.
I didn't have anybody.
Had to research.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody tell me anything. Did you?
No, I was sort of synchronicity. I was led to the information that I needed to learn, and I had my downloads as well. But yeah, I didn't know what a Kundalini awakening was. I didn't know what ascension was, or the fact we were moving into the age of Aquarius. This was sort of through downloads and being led to the information, and by having people put in front of me at the right time as well to tell me the things I needed to sort of know. People used to sort of pop up and give me information that I was wondering about, whatever I was asking about in my head or out loud to my higher self, guides, angels, creator. The answers would then come in the form of a YouTube video or somebody actually talking to me about that subject, or happening to find a book and opening the book on the right page, and all those synchronicity. It's absolutely amazing the way it works.
And they came quick. Yeah, they came fast. It's like you would think it, you'd get the answer. I thought a Kundalini was a really sharp-looking European car.
I had no idea what it was at the time.
Found out it wasn't. I had no idea what a Kundalini was.
Back. What's that all about?
Yeah,
and it's
what I
boiling.
found out.
Oh my God. I don't like snakes.
Yeah. That was just, all these new words and stuff were so demonic and satanic from my past 34 years as a seminary taught spiritual teacher. This had turned everything upside down.
It's completely
I tried so hard.
The way you think now.
Oh man, but I took it because I never got anything like this from my Bible. There were things that would help me. Wise sayings. I always said, truth is truth, even if it comes out of a hog's butt. Truth is truth. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
Yeah.
Wisdom is wisdom. You get wisdom out of the Bible. You get truth. You get love out of the Bible. But there's a whole lot of nonsense man created in there too. So I tried to plug my religion into this experience, see, my Bible knowledge, and it wouldn't fit.
Nope.
My experience, which is the only thing you ever have that's true. I mean, what in life is absolute truth is your experiences. That's what you will die and go to the grave knowing was absolutely true. Everything else is hearsay. Everything else is somebody else's experience. Everything else is belief, which is the most limiting factor in a human being's life, is to believe.
Yeah.
Because you're taking somebody else's word for something without the experience. So from that, I either know what I know, I don't know what I don't know, and my ego is not too big when somebody asks me a question, say, I don't know, instead of going, well, I believe, because I'm making something up that I've not experienced. And so that was the big thing about religion. It wouldn't fit. My Bible didn't fit into my experience. And I was like, well, I can't go with a book, even though I've lived by it for all these years. something has to be wrong with the book, because this is actually my life experience. This is happening to me. So that's where I'm at now. I'm talking to you in England, see.
Yeah,
That's spiritual awakening, and go international, baby.
You've gone through so much, and one of the most incredible. So you've basically, your entire history of what you thought life was and how you grew up, as just everything's just been completely turned on its head now, and you now
absolutely
know that we were just taught all wrong, that it was. There's been so many lies and so many programs that we've been fed over the years about what we think or should think life is all about. Just isn't that at all. We have been kept in
not that way.
Slavery, but we've been kept in slavery, but we haven't been able to see the bars of our prison.
Right.
But we're still being held down, or we're, until we have the awakening, are being held down.
And it's conditioning. Every bit of it's conditioning. And I think that from the reincarnation standpoint, looking at it, which God forbid, if I'd have thought that before, everybody in my neighborhood would have thrown eggs at me because I was a devil worshiper. But now looking, that's the only way it can be. And I found that's even in the Bible. Reincarnation's right there in the Gospels. Looking at it that way, you come to this planet and you grow gradually, and you're here for one purpose: experiences. That's all. And these experiences grow your soul.
Mm-hmm.
So as you go, I had probably planned, because I looked at Job. I've had worse than, the only thing I have not had that happened to Job was the boils. I didn't have the boils, but Job didn't have open heart surgery. So, I mean, I'm on par with him. I watched my mom die of pancreatic cancer when I was 16. I've never seen anything that horrific. She yelled and screamed for a month, 24 hours a day. So I went back through life, and then I had my wife and the mother of my kids. She, when my son was about 4, she decided to run off with her high school sweetheart. So there that was. And then I became a single father, and which brought me to my absolute soulmate, most wonderful woman on earth. So I look at it and I said, okay, we probably agreed to these things, but we had the veil put over us so that we would progress through this blindly.
Yeah.
Yet, even though it's blindly on the surface, we have a path to follow, and you will even create the necessary challenges for yourself without knowing it to stay on that path. So everything I've been through, and religion, I look at it and say, I know why I was born in America, because in our society, it would be almost impossible if you were born in the 50s not to grow up and start thinking Jesus was the God that took care of everything. Because as a child, the television, which that is the programmers to TV. I got rid of that sucker quick when I came back. But as a child, when you get to Christmas, what do you see? Jesus of Nazareth, all these stories, and so and then on Easter, you get Moses, the 10 Commandments, Charlton Heston, all these things. And now you've got Roma Downey and her husband, Burnett, the guy that did Survivor. They do the whole new Bible thing, Roman Catholic to the core. So that came out a couple of years ago. So as a child, we're innocent. And when you see these movies, you just assume, well, the grown-ups have looked at this stuff, history, and they've got like dead bodies, and they've books, and they've got pictures and all this stuff. So they know it's all true. We're okay. They wouldn't hurt us. But they were, the same thing was done to them. They were conditioned into these religious thought patterns just like we were. You go to school, you say the Pledge of Allegiance, you do the Lord's Prayer and all that. So, yeah, it's a system of control. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I said, it'd be real hard for somebody my age in the 50s to not become a Christian. I mean, you go cult or atheist, depends on your parents, because that was the only options I had. I had either Protestant Christianity or Roman Catholicism. There were no other options. And so just you live, and on every corner there's a building with a steeple and a cross. And in your mind, you just assume that's where God lives. And nobody as a child tells you it's not. You're told that, and you expect the grown-ups have looked into it. Surely the people that made the movies looked and found out it was true before they made. No, they didn't. They was trying to make money. So they made a big, cool movie that everybody liked. So it's a cultural conditioning. And you know what? Look at the word culture and take the U-R-E off the end of it, and what have you got? Cult. Religion is just one big cult. The world right now, 2.5 billion people are in the cult of Christianity. Mm-hmm. And then another almost 2 billion, or maybe even a little more, are in the cult of Islam. And so that leaves the rest of the world in different things, and most of them religious too. Well, and this awakening is
even if people are atheists, even that is a belief in itself to be an atheist.
Yeah,
people are called.
It's an anti-religion. Yeah, anti-religion religion. Science. You know what the word belief is translated into in science? Theory. Theory is a belief. It's nothing more than somebody's opinion and idea. Well, they might have some math backing it up. Well, in church, they got some words backing it up. So modern academic science is the anti-religion religion, where the word theory replaces belief system. It's a theory system. But beliefs are like this. A belief can be true, but it's not absolute that a belief will be true. A theory can turn out to be true, but there's no absolute that it's going to. Mm-hmm. So everything in this world is pretty much based on belief systems. And when you can settle into, I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know, I will accept data and information, and I will put it in other until I experience it for myself. Now that brings a state of calm, peace, and serenity to your life that is unimaginable to somebody who's not received any awakening. And you could do that without getting Kundalini just by saying, wow, that's right. Mm-hmm. You know, experience is the only thing that's true. I don't have to get Kundalini to quit believing things. Yeah, so that's a tip for life right
now. Because how do you cope now? Because where you live now, you're pretty much in the deep Bible belt of things. So everybody around you is religious and doesn't particularly believe in spirituality or a creator as we have come to know it since waking up. So how do you're the odd one out at the moment. You're the one that nobody else believes.
But remember now, I know that book. So I can deal with these people with the most love and tender kindness. Because, see, the Apostle Paul, according to the Bible, when he got stoned, and I don't mean he was smoking pot, they stoned him with rocks, and he had an out-of-body experience where he said, whether in the body or out of the body, I know not. Mm-hmm. But he went to the third heaven, and he said the things there were past human words. He said there are no words to describe it. And that's the same experience I had. Now, there's many mystical experiences in the New Testament where people left their bodies. Jesus taught mystical experiences. The baptism, believe it or not, baptism in its origin was to bring about an NDE. They didn't know what that was back then. This stuff of sprinkling a kid, that's ritual. The Essenes, and even farther back than that in history, they would literally, now they knew that they were one with the universe. They knew that God was the universe and they were part of the universe. And so they didn't care if their body died because they knew they were immortal. But the baptismal process was to hold them underwater, not by force. It was voluntary. They walked up. They wanted to know what this enlightenment thing was, what it's like on the other side. So not knowing about out of bodies, not knowing about NDEs, they found that if you went underwater long enough and didn't breathe, it would bring you to that altered state of consciousness where you literally became one with God. And that was what Jesus was talking about when he said, you must be born again. Right. Meaning, like I came back brand new. So there's a lot of parallels. So see, I can talk to these people because I know they don't know nothing that's in the Bible. They go to church. Nobody in church knows what the Bible says. That's the last place you want to find Bible knowledge is in the church, because the most ignorant usually of all is the preacher. He just preaches what he saw some other preacher he liked, was impressed with, made his ego feel good. Think, boy, I could impress my congregation. I'm going to say his words next week on Sunday. So that's how it is. It's a we're better than you club. We're a special club. That's what church is. It's really sad. But I used to get carried out by the shoulders. I would go in trying to bring truth and say, look, here's what the Bible says. Why are you not doing that? They would call me the devil and tell them to read it. They'd read it out loud, and they would call me Satan, the devil, and get me by the shoulders and lead me out of the church for the Bible to them, because they had never read the darn thing. But see, it went against their beliefs and their egos. So I can handle these people fine. I just don't tell them what I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. I don't go and tell them about we are part of God. God is. I tell some of them can handle it. But strangely enough, some of these preacher friends of mine, after 3 years, have started contacting me, wanting to know what's going on. So they're getting an awakening. It's blowing my mind. These guys are so hardcore Bible Belt Mountain. Yeah, this
you're
Bible
affecting people around you. When you wake up,
and
your energy starts to affect those around you. You will start to awaken
you are
others.
Absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Your
vibration level, your frequency level, affects those around you.
Yeah, you're lifting their frequency.
What does a whiner? Yeah. What about a whiner? You get a whiner that comes up whining. Oh, I'm taking this medicine now, and I got a good doctor, and he's going to put me on this. Doesn't that make you feel great? Hell no. It's the same if you got low frequency level and somebody comes in, you're going to go down. So if you keep a high positive frequency level, I can go in a room full of whiners sitting around moaning and groaning about their medicine and their bowel movements and all this bunch of mess. And before I leave, they're just laughing and happy and everything else. Then they want to come back and hang around with me.
Yeah.
So it's your frequency level, my frequency level. It's that Kundalini thing, baby.
Yes,
that is what brings the energy into a room that, well, Jesus said, if you take a light and put it under a bushel, put it under a bucket, everything's dark. But if you take the light into a dark room, there is no darkness. The darkness can't comprehend it. It disappears. So a little candle in a dark room, just darkness has to run away.
Yeah.
And we're all little candles. All of us awakening spirits are just little candles going around shining some light into the world, bringing some love.
That's right. Unconditional love. So what do you think all of this now means to you? This awakening, where do you think we're heading? What do you think the reason is for this mass awakening?
I don't know. I don't future out much. I live in the moment. This moment, I'm like the happiest guy on earth. I'm having a great time with you. I can speculate, but I don't like to speculate because Yogi Berra said, predicting is tricky business, especially when you're dealing with the future. But no, that's really true. And truly, in my mind, I feel that they've allowed me to understand that our planet goes through cycles. I've seen enough evidence.
That's what I'm trying to get you to say.
There's enough archaeological evidence out there that we have been totally snow jobbed with this 6,000 years, and everything started in Samaria. No, Göbekli Tepe, they just found you've got these freaking giant rocks that literally have dinosaurs carved onto them with humans, but the dinosaurs millions of years ago. So, yeah, we've been lied to, and it continues. The earth, to me, goes through a cycle every so many thousand years, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 years. At least that's what the archaeology says. So, see, I'm not speculating now. I'm dealing in facts.
Yeah.
And if it's happened before many times, it stands to reason it's going to happen again. It's like the sun. You can say the sun will come up in the morning. Why? Because that's pretty much what happens every day. Yeah. Well, that's not speculating. That's just going with a pattern. Mm-hmm. The pattern is that every so many thousand years, our spiritual awakening comes to a point. If we have remained in that survival mode and that money, I have to have money. Money's the most important thing, that continual thinking about tomorrow and yesterday and never looking at the big picture. And the planet consciousness does not reach the right level, nuclear weapons would probably start to fly. And at that point, I think the help comes in and says, all right, hold it. Y'all failed. You didn't do it. You missed it. So come on. And they take us out. And then for 10,000 or 16,000 years, the earth rebuilds itself. And strangely enough, there's no bones left. There's no animals left. There's nothing but the rocks. And there's always these megalithic monuments that prove high technological advancements, even higher than what we have now.
What that?
Punta Punta or Punta Punta, whatever the name of it is. Those are cut to such a microscopic level of perfection that you cannot pull it off to this day. Yeah. So how did they do that? They were supposed to be shooting bows and arrows, and chunking rocks at things. No, that's ignorance to think that. So we are now, in my view, at that tipping point. We're at the place just recently where the nukes could have flown.
Yeah. And
somehow with the political situation and from what they're saying about the outside with Corey Good and all of the space programs and all that, the bad guys are going down. And you and I discussed how this Pizzagate thing, there's already over 600 arrests. Oh, and after you and I talked, they busted an adoption center the next day, a big child adoption center that got children from Europe. Yeah, they shut them down and said they were not taking care of that, and it was a child trafficking ring. Yeah. So, it's happening daily. And it looks like we're not going to have the kind of help. They're not going to have to come and stop the nukes this time. Yeah. Maybe the people like me, you, and those that are listening to this program, their consciousness level is high enough that it's at the ratio where if you have this many at a certain consciousness level, everybody else gets to come along even though they're not there yet. So the awakening comes and they get the benefit of our work, which that's fine with me. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where we're headed. We're gradually, it may not happen in my lifetime, but I think it will. It's gradually going to, the money thing's not going to matter. Everybody is going to start cooperating instead of competing. They're going to become one big community and realize that if we're not a community, we're going to finish destroying the planet.
Yeah. That's right. Sorry, my daughter's just walked in looking for the brush because she's just had a shower. So she's like, "Where's the brush?" And I'm like, "Go away, I'm having an interview. I'm doing an interview." And I don't think she's in here. They are children, they're always...
Life goes on.
Yeah, they always come in at just the right moment, don't they? And she's got the brush. It's all good. It's all good. Life continues.
Well, here's my child. Look at this. Can you see that?
Oh,
you
that's
see
so
that?
cute.
He's older than I am. He's like 190 in dog years. I dug his grave 2 years ago.
It.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So tell everybody one of the most amazing things that happened to you when you went through how much did you weigh before all this started? How much do you weigh now?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that yet. So I weighed, the last time I was on the scale at my highest was 285 pounds, and I know I went higher than that. And the photo, which you can show that to everybody if you want to.
I want to do it, but I don't know how to share it. Do you know how to do it from your end?
Okay. Well, you put it on your web. You can put it on your website, or you can put it up on the beginning of the YouTube. Yeah, like if you're going to put something like this in pieces on YouTube, you can put "Fat Man Get Skinny" or something. You know. But yeah, now that's amazing. That back to the fruit. See, back to that fruit thing. That was the fruit where it said, "Don't pay attention to his words."
Yeah.
Or I said, "Don't pay attention to my words. Pay attention to the fruit." Man, you know how dogs will look at you when they like look sideways. Yeah. That's how they looked at me, and I didn't know what was going to happen. In 3 months now, and I was not on a diet. I was eating ice cream. I was eating cake. I was eating all the stuff I love. But in 3 months, amazingly, 80 pounds just disappeared off of my body. Just
amazing.
And at that point, I was like, wow, this is the fruit that they were supposed to look for. And that's really the miracle that is the vehicle that they, him are using to get my message out. Because when people see somebody as fat as I was to be as skinny as I am, it's like 3 months, 5 months max, I lost over 100 pounds. So at 80 pounds missing, I thought something big's going on here. I'm going to help. If the Creator is going to take this off of me, then I'm going to help keep it off. So I started eating vegetables. I started cutting sugar out. I started eating right and found that if you eat right, you feel right.
Yeah.
If you eat crappy, you feel crappy. So that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
If you don't mind feeling crappy, just go on eating trash and just feel trashy. You like to feel good, learn how to eat right, and you will feel good pretty much every day. Not only that, your immunity will build up. You'll keep sickness and disease away. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest miracle aside from being out of pain. And I can jump up and down on the bed now, and I can run up and down mountains, and 14-year-old kids can't catch me there. They call me the Billy Goat, and I'll start tearing out up a mountain down behind me like these 14-year-old boys down there. Slow down, Billy Goat. And I'm like, kiss my butt. I'm 60, almost 60 years old, and you're 14, and you can't keep up with me. You better pick it up and come on. So, hey, that's a big miracle too. So,
And
losing, I guess I lost about
the other thing is
Huh?
now you are moving on to, you are building sensory, it's not
seekers.
Sensory, the meditation flotation tanks that you are now.
Sensory. Yeah, seekers is, I've got it. I'm not absolutely concrete on how I'm going to lay these anagram out, but it's like spiritual enlightenment. How did I say? Spiritual enlightenment, experience, knowledge, and enlightenment research school. So I got enlightened or awakened through this. So I study it real hard. I found that many people have found enlightenment through meditation, which that's the Buddhist method, you know, and the Zen method in the East. John C. Lilly, the guy who learned from aliens, from what he said, in a flotation tank. There was a movie called Altered States back in the 80s with William Hurt, where he literally devolved into a little monkey man, you know, which was, it really brought a bad light on the flotation tanks. But it's a big thing now. They're putting them in spas all over the place. It's the greatest drug-free stress reliever on earth. So being a house builder and a gunsmith and a plumber, I'm just building my own. They cost like $8,000 to buy one. So I'm building one for around $400. I think that's a pretty good discount.
That's pretty good.
But it's salt water, Epsom salt. I'm going to put regular salt in mine, but Epsom salt. It reaches a density level so much denser than what the human body is. When you lay on it, you literally pop to the top like a cork. So in the tank where it's totally dark, you have your ears plugged up, you've lost sight, you've lost sound, and now you've become weightless. It's just like being in outer space, floating in outer space, no gravity, and pretty much at that point, your brain goes into overdrive. When you lose all your senses, then your mind starts becoming what you are, which is consciousness. And so many people talk about they stop being a human when they're laying in the tank and they don't have any senses. Their consciousness breaks through a wall. And so many people say they literally travel into the universe, into other galaxies, other planets. This is not a limited thing. This is pretty common for the sensory deprivation tank, flotation tank. Sensory deprivation sounds like torture. This is where you voluntarily lay down and you just give up yourself and allow your consciousness to become whole on its own without a body, pretty much. So that's what Seekers is about. And I'm going to have satsangs, which is the Indian term for gathering of truth, where these old gurus in India with the turbans and the white robes, they sit up on a little table. Well, I'm going to get on the floor in my coveralls and my moccasins with the people, because I am just a people. I'm not a guru, but I have learned through this enlightenment that there's just about not a question about life that I can't answer, mainly because I've lived it for so long. It's like Jaggi Vasudev says, there's one thing I know, and that's this piece of life right here. And I can infer that knowing this little speck of life so well, that other people that are human beings are much the same as I am. Mm-hmm. So with that knowledge, I can help people to come out of this conditioning and reach the knowledge of their true self. I mean, all that's just fun to me. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not charging for any of that. I'm just opening it up and said, come one, come all, and let's have some fun.
Yeah, and you've got to keep me
informed. We'll set the camera.
Let me know when
we'll
it's
set
up and
this
running.
thing in.
Sorry?
We'll put the computer up there. We'll get the camera going, and we'll turn you on, and you can join us. See?
Oh yeah, that'd be
no reason you couldn't. We're in the 21st century. You might be in England, but there ain't no reason you can't sit there on a stool on a computer and talk to me just like you are now, right?
Yeah, that'd
God,
be
I love the 20.
Amazing. I can join in with the meditation then.
Well, we're planning it. Yep, that'll be fun. We'll do that for sure. If we live till tomorrow, we'll do it.
Oh, we will. We will. We're getting younger by the day now.
Yeah, we got a job to do.
We've got a job to do. We've got a mission to be on now. So, Bill, I'm going to turn the video off on our bit in a minute and stop recording. So, I just want to say thank you so much. And
I hope I didn't
know that if anyone's got some questions, you'll want to answer them.
Absolutely. Love to. That's my favorite thing. When I was a Bible teacher, I said, look, I don't know what you don't know. So if you want me to teach you something, you better ask me a question. And so that's my favorite thing. I can flow with questions. So yeah, just throw all the questions you want to at me. That'll be fine. You can send them email or we get back on, however you want to do it. You're the boss.
Okay. Well, yeah. However you want to do it, I can put your details below, or people can put questions below for you. We can come on and do this again another time. That'd be really good.
Right.
So
yeah, we'll get some questions and answer them, and maybe do another one of these chats and kind of answer the questions on the air. I'd love that.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely brilliant. Okay then. So I'll say goodbye to my subscribers. Thank you for watching and everything, and I'll speak to you soon.